guys, it's me Jenny and it's time for another comment commentary on a Friday. I'm still getting used to this, where I talk to you guys about your comments. I've just finished replying to your comments in text form and then I reply to them in verbal form, and the reason why I film on my web camera is because I tend to ramble and you guys are commenting a lot lately, which is excellent and I love it, but it does take me a while to sometimes finish the videos, so low definition, not so great sound quality, but at least I can talk without being like, oh my god, my SD ran out of space and my camera ran out of battery. Just, I can talk, and that's always good, and I'm good at talking, it would seem, because I do it a lot. So, I do the previous week's worth of videos all in one go. I've just, as I said, finished replying to your comments, and now it's time to reply to your comments. We have more of a conversation and less of a, you know, one-sided to one-sided thing. So, conversation, woo! So, starting from last Monday's Gaming Monday video, build, gold, run, oh no, fudge, don't starve, shipwrecked, which is all the things I said a lot, like build, gold, run, oh no, fudge! So, basically, within exclamatives, that basically sums up the gameplay. KSG said the Quacken, an oversized duck. I don't know. I haven't met the Quacken. If you survive long enough to go to all the islands in your area and like kind of skirt the border of the islands that you're in on single player, I know you can pass through some mist and then you go into like a, you know, super decker level type thing where you there's monsters everywhere. I haven't survived long enough in the normal world to have enough equipment and supplies to do that, going over to through the mist to take on the extra powerful things. I imagine the Quacken is a really terrifying underwater giant duck, but I will give points to it stuff because they are fabulous at doing the off-kilter puns. It's one of my favourite things, the way it's written, where you have these creatures that are, you know, little puns all the time and little very clever, very small word jokes, and I like them. Clearly I'm not good at using the word jokes because that is not a phrase, it's a real thing, but they're very good at wordplay and that sort of witticisms. In a way it kind of reminds me of, if anyone's read A Series of Unfortunate Events, which was one of my favourite books as a teenager. I didn't read it till a teenager. I could probably read them when I was younger, but I read them when I was a teenager. One of my favourite book series because it's so full of that sort of kind of semi-dark atmosphere, with a whole load of like wordplay and clever story devices and all those sort of things thrown in. So yeah, that game, kind of the way that it's designed and that sort of type of humour and stylings definitely remind me of A Series of Unfortunate Events. I would recommend you read the books. Apparently they're going to make a Netflix series, which I'm really excited for because Netflix so far has a pretty good run for making really good content, apart from whatever is the Ridiculous 6, which I'm not going to watch that. Anyway, this is why I record on web camera, because tangents. Nathan Lyle says, not all snakes are venomous, Jenny. Stop stereotyping an entire species. Well, it's easy to stereotype an entire species when every member of the species that you've met have been poisonous and have poisoned you and resulted in you dying. So yeah, snakes are not fun. I think there are two different types of snakes in Don't Starve Shipwrecked, but to be honest, I've just tried to avoid all of them because they're bad and I haven't been able to survive being poisoned yet. KSJ on... Oh, I'm already on to the next video, ahead of myself. Pirates Abandoned Misfits movie reviews thoughts, which is also known as Pirates Adventures with Scientists, depending on which area you're in. And I did a movie review for it, and KSJ said he really enjoyed the film and should watch it again. Been long enough that he's forgotten the plot. I definitely found that with this film, like, you know, I can remember the visuals and I can remember one or two of the jokes, and I watched it I think 3 times, this will be the 3rd time, and like I couldn't remember the plot. I completely blanked on the plot every single time, so in that way it's a very good, it has a lot of rewatchability, most, like, because of the creative levels that they throw into this film, the way that they've designed everything. That's worth rewatching because there's so many visual jokes in the background of each frame, because it's so structured, because you can only really do one take, because it takes so long to do each take. So the detail in the background are extraordinarily well done. Everything is placed with a very specific reason, and that in itself is worth rewatching. The fact that you forget the plot means that you can watch it again and enjoy the plot for what it is. So yeah, it's definitely worth rewatching. I think there's a lot of rewatchability in it. Baxon says, I probably don't want to play CRPGs like Aquarium, Arcarum, which is a steampunk game with magic, but it's not an fixed place in history where the game is supposedly taking place. The thing with I love steampunk. I love steampunk as a concept. I love it as a style. I love the literary kind of background to it. I love the details that steampunk cosplayers put in. It's amazing and beautiful. I love steampunk variants on costumes. Like, I love that as a thing. I don't mind steampunk. What I do mind is when people take real historical characters and then they tweak them into a mismatched timeline. Specifically in this film, you've got 3 real life historical figures: Victoria, Darwin, and Jane Austen. I think there might be 1 or 2 others, but I probably missed them. And they just didn't really coincide in the way that it's shown in the movie, and that kind of gets my goat slightly more than if they just had, a villainous queen, a bumbling scientist who's in love with the villainous queen, and some pretty girl that you meet on the land who's interested in literature. Like, they could have done those archetypes. The fact that they named those archetypes slightly jars me, but that was my problem with it. Not necessarily the time jumping, because clearly it's not meant to be a realistic thing. But there we go. That's my thoughts on it. So moving on. On to Creative Wednesday, which is going to be probably my one and only Creative Wednesday. Basically, my Wednesday is at the moment my only unallocated day of the week, I think. I have now got plans for, I've got, obviously, Monday, Tuesday is exactly the same as it's always been. Thursday is Still Naked Truths. Friday is now Comic Commentaries. Saturday, there is Ideas Coming. Sunday, I think I have an idea for a show that I can keep up with, which will be flexible, but also, allows me to just kind of, like, one of the reasons why these videos are late is not just because of the upload time being ridiculously long in my house, but also because some of the time I'd be like, I don't know what to talk about. So I'm going to try a Sunday show that kind of works within that kind of region of I don't really know what to talk about, but here's something. But yeah, so at the moment Wednesday will just be a day when I do some sort of update on life, or I talk about something that doesn't fall into any other category. And as I said, it may be filled sooner or later with something to do with Game of Thrones, but there is always a lot of flexibility during my week that, there's no real fixed schedule. Like, I haven't actually got like a schedule up on my account page or anything. When you go into my channel, there isn't actually a detail of what my schedule is. It's just something that I stick to in my head so I can actually keep up with the schedule. So yeah, anyway, on my Creativity Wednesday, I think I talked about my plans for D&D. So KSJ said I should have tantrums on my ice plane, a plane of existence, not a plane. But there may be Kylo Ren-esque NPC drama if I can get my players to find certain items for my next session. I'm very excited. I need to write down some details, because part of the reason why my session last week wasn't the best was because I had to spend a lot of time, because I hadn't had time to actually write down my plan too much. I haven't really finished reading the DM guide, I haven't really finished reading the monster manual, so there's a lot of little things that I kind of know the rough version of how to do, but given that I've never really done it in practice and I didn't really write any additional notes, I was literally sitting there with the monster manual on my arm and my notes in front of me, like rolling dice kind of awkwardly, sipping my wine. So I kind of want to actually set aside some time to actually write out some character info, stats and whatnot, so I can actually do that with my NPCs. But there may be Kylo Ren-esque. Ooh, wow. My internet came back, which means the Critical Role soundtrack sound noises popped back up. Sorry about that. Live show, guys. Yes, there may be Kylo Ren-esque NPC drama, because there are the sins of the if my plots go where I want them to, there may just be sins of heritage. I'm going to go with that coming through for an NPC that hasn't actually come into play yet, but we shall see. Pablo says, could I possibly use a different microphone? It wouldn't be too expensive. With me and technology, it always takes a little while for me to adjust and change, just because I'm not the most technically savvy, to say the least. I'm still at the moment working on getting this channel kind of to a good, keep upable schedule. That's my main target at the moment. Obviously, I'm subtitling it VEDA for this week, for this month, because I'm vlogging every day anyway, so I might as well do VEDA as well. But at the same time, I just kind of feel like it's going to take me a while to do all that. It takes me long enough to upload and add the splash cover using editing, and if I'm doing at the moment my Saturday thing that I'm doing, it's taking a reasonable amount of uploading and editing. Having a separate microphone and having to then edit it on top of my things when I'm using Windows Movie Maker is going to be quite tricky. I will look into it. I do have some friends who are very much more technically savvy. They may be able to recommend a decent external mic. But I don't know. I genuinely don't know if I'm going to have the time to implement it in a useful way. As far as I know, most of the time I'm okay audio-wise, at least in my main camera. I know the audio isn't so good on this camera. But yeah, I'll try and... Oh! 1 second. Sorry about that. That was my sister calling just to say hi. So I'll call her back in a mo. Live show! Twice! 2 live things in one show. It's very a live show. It's alive! It's alive! Anywho, yes, it might take me a while to develop technology things more. I am working on it, as you can tell, anyone who's watched any of my shows from last year. I have made vast strides towards making this channel more professional, everything from updating my channel art to adding the splash screen at the beginning, and trying to get a consistent schedule, and having actually been consistent this past week. And I am really doing a lot of new things at the moment, but having a microphone will actually take a lot more of my time. I will look into it, I promise. And I'm glad that you've gotten you back into revisiting classic literature, which was not my intention, but I'm very glad that it happened nonetheless. So, woo, thank you. Moving on to The Naked Truth from last week, which was on April Fool's Day. Tor said it was a fun way to do it. That's a fun way I was describing doing verbal pranks, where you tell incredibly intensive lies and see whether or not people buy them. That way it's not a physical affront to someone, and if it's if they believe you, then it doesn't negatively affect their life in any way. If someone believes that their car is being stolen, or that their significant other or family is in mortal danger or in hospital, that's mean. If they believe that your aunt is a bit wacky, that makes no difference to them if they believe or they don't believe. Yeah, hurting someone is just bad. So thank you, Tor, for being a nice human. Nathan Lyle says, even though it was just a joke, hearing someone say that they think Trump wouldn't do a good job still makes them want to vomit. So sorry, I didn't mean to cause nausea with my statements. That's the whole point of trying to do the over-the-top lies, is so that I don't cause physical harm to anyone, but I apologise. KSJ says, well said, thank you. He thinks that some people forget that they're supposed to act foolish or to make a fool of someone else, and has never been into pranking, and is eagerly awaiting my review of Batman v Superman. As I said, my only really incentive to see the Batman v Superman film is for Wonder Woman. I don't know whether or not I want to sit through everything I've heard about the film. I'm not sure if I want to sit through it just for that final scene, or one of the final scenes. I'm not entirely sure of the structure, but for everything that I've seen spoiler casts, I've seen reviews, I've read a couple here and there. I don't know whether or not I want to put myself through that just for the Wonder Woman scenes, or whether or not I should just wait for the Wonder Woman movie, which I will definitely see. That's going to happen without fail. I'm really torn. I'm really torn, because I'm sure it has commendable aspects, but do I want to put myself through nearly 2-hour long movie just to see some commendable aspects? Also, I don't live directly within walking distance, or I can walk, I could bike of the cinema, but it would involve me getting a bus out of town and doing some other things. And is it really worth doing it? Most of my friends are not interested in seeing the film or have already seen it at this point, so I don't know. I may watch it, I may not, but I will keep you up to date nonetheless. On last week's commentary, we were talking about stuff. I will start trying to think of good descriptive names of commentaries, because it's pretty clear what they are, but I think it'd be good to make them slightly more distinctive. Mark Amano says, since he played the pronoun game with me, which is really confusing, because theoretically he should say he for himself. Since I mentioned that covering first to third person is difficult, you'll do it for me. You can't believe that you missed another commentary. Like, that should be a different pronoun. That should be a he. So it would be, since I mentioned that converting to first to third person is difficult for me, he'll do it for me. He can't believe that he missed another commentary. He is really enjoying the Marvel series on Netflix too. It doesn't help much, but thank you for the effort nonetheless. He has been really enjoying the Netflix series, and yes, finds it weird that he's putting words in my mouth and can't stop. That's weird. It's very disconcerting. Summer Glau is amazing. Lots of Summer Glau love. I've always been a big fan of hers ever since. Waiting in the Wings. That was the first ever Angel episode I watched. I watched it at some family friend's house up the road. Before we really understood that Angel was a TV series, we'd been watching Buffy, and we were at a friend's, and I think they were doing a barbecue or something, and they had a wood-burning fire in their sitting room, and I just wanted to snuggle up near the wood-burning fire, and it was Waiting in the Wings, and I remember watching and be like, it's a ballet episode! Oh my god! And so I watched that before watching any other episode of Angel, and I remember being wowed by this ballerina character. And then, of course, I watched Firefly and Serenity, and then I think it was like a year or so later we finally got around to cracking out Angel, and we rocketed through that series. And I was like, oh my god, that the ballerina from my childhood memory. Wow, that's weird. And pretty much I've watched most of what she's been in. I even watched Mammoth, which is not a great movie. And I watched the Initiation of Sarah Marshall, which is again not a great movie. I can justify it for some reasons, but not a great movie. I love the 4400. I really enjoyed her in Alphas. It was nice to see her playing something different. Terminator is, of course, a great show, or at least a great performance within a show that had its problems. Yeah, I really love Summer Glau. It's really nice to see her doing some work. She was recently in Castle, which I really appreciated, but I haven't caught up to that season. But it's nice to see her doing things. Lots of Summer Glau love. Moving on to Ranger S Studios, who says he's seen all that jazz. A friend of mine made him watch it in college. It is a very original movie, definitely. And I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it since. I haven't seen it in many, many years. I will have to watch it sometime. But it's one of those kind of cinematic experiences that I remember crying a lot when I watched it for the first time. I've only watched it once. It was a gift from my mum on DVD, because she remembers it from her childhood. So I think I will have to watch it again, but I have to be in the right kind of mood to review and enjoy. So maybe next week, maybe the week after, shall see. Nathan Lyle did a big old long comment. Also, let me just check. Has there been any seashells? Yes, Mark Amano is a seashell person. Woo! And Nathan Lyle is too. And there's lots of seashells on the seashore type thing. I've never seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Nope. I watched the old ones, the early 2000 ones, which shouldn't be old, but they are. God, I'm old. and I never got around to watching the Amazing Spider-Man reboots. I meant to, and I think I maybe would have enjoyed them, but I just never got around to it. It just wasn't high on my agenda. So I never saw The Amazing Spider-Man 2, so apparently I've been saved from that one, according to Nathan Lau. So I'm glad it was awesome. He also put in the debate about DC versus Marvel, how most people are actually, when they think of comics, they think of DC, they think of the Justice League. That is the quintessential comic book characters, while Marvel, their characters aren't unknown, but they're less known, so that when they're creating the cinematic universe, because the characters aren't fixed in people's minds, everyone has a perspective of what they think Superman and Batman are, and Wonder Woman to some extent. Everyone knows in their head what that character is. So it's almost impossible to make a satisfactory movie when there's so many different versions of the characters and everyone has their own opinion on what that character is to them. While because the Marvel world is less known, only to a smaller extent, not like unknown, but it's less known in comparison to the Justice League. Because it is less known, the cinematic universe has a lot more flexibility in how they handle those characters. They can be true to the stories, but they'll be true to the best of the stories as to the popular reception of those characters. And there's a lot more kind of, it's slightly easier and it's slightly more streamlined as a process. Moving on. KSJ says he watched Man of Steel before watching Batman vs Superman. It gave him some context and really enjoyed the ending. Also another seashell, or thought the ending was surprised by the ending. Not necessarily thought it great, but was surprised by the ending. It's one of those things that it's Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. So that is within the title 3-4 films. So like if you watch the Dark Knight Returns, the animated 2-part film, like that's just a Batman v Superman story with a bit more Batman, and that's a really great. I think it's an hour and a half per episode, like 2-part film. And that's a great animated film. I reviewed it last year sometime, maybe the year before. Gosh, I've been knowing it a long time. And that's a really great film because it just focuses on Batman and Batman v Superman. The Justice League kind of darts around as background characters, but they're already aged, they're already finished, their jobs are done pretty much. All of these characters are slightly older and more grizzled. While with this film, to introduce the cinematic universe in a film, that's an enormous challenge. And to not have to introduce full, complete characters rather than the remnants of previous characters. And make it so that you can have sequels and multiple worlds. That's a huge challenge. And I can understand that it didn't work as well as it should have done, but it didn't work as well as it should have done. Moving on to Ranger 7 Studios, who left 2 comments. And highly recommends that I watch the live version of Sweeney Todd from the 80s. That sounds interesting. It took me quite a bit of mental persuasion to make you watch the new one, just because the horror aspects don't necessarily appeal to me. There is a pie shop in the town that I used to live in for uni called Sweeney and Todd's. And I can never eat there due to the association. Even though I've been told that the pies are fabulous, they do great gluten-free pies and great vegetarian pies and great normal pies, I just couldn't eat there because of the mental association of Sweeney and Todd's. So I will look it up at some point if I'm in the mood to be slightly freaked out. But it sounds good. And thank you for the recommendation nonetheless. What do I feel about the Rocky Horror remake? The charm of the Rocky Horror film is the quirky, dated, weird, low-budget craziness. I genuinely don't think they can recapture that atmosphere with a modern twist. And a lot of the transgender, bisexual aspects of that film may be seen as either very, very forefront and honest now, or they may be seen as that film exists in a social bubble that is inspiring and revolutionary and still speaks to a modern audience. I think telling that story in a modern setting will bring around a lot of political distaste from a lot of people, and it might not be handled right. I don't know whether or not it'll be too humanizing or too unhumanizing. I've got the feeling it's a very tricky subject to handle within a film, and the fact that that film itself existed in that time, it's in that social bubble, it is this phenomenal, it's a phenomenon in its own right. It is a social piece in this weird, wacky, crazy world that works in that context. I think if you were to bring that out now, it would be very, very much an R-rated movie, very, very much controversial to the point that people won't go to see it because it's so controversial, even though obviously the original was controversial. I don't know whether or not they can hold true to it in any way, shape or form. And Range 7 Studio says, it talks about the Marshalls, Penny Marshall and Gary Marshall, who are directors. They're all related. I'm assuming that's something that I mentioned in that film review, or somewhere in that comic commentary. I don't know. I don't know what that's a reference to, but thank you for the info. On to my D&D Saturday ? Video ideas. Red Sky Blackbird says, more D&D the better, woo! And an insight into my D&D group. Generally, D&D content is fine, whether I talk about Critical Role and your adventures on D&D Universe is up to you. Wait for tomorrow's video. Maxon also says 30-minute long Dungeons and Dragons discussion. We shall see. And Libban also says all about D&D and Critical Role is awesome. Is it Friday yet? Yay for that time difference. I was saying to my sister that Critical Role is at exactly the wrong time of night for me to be able to watch it. If it started at 12 and finished at 3, I could stay up and I could just about cope the next day. If it started at 6 and finished at 9, I can be happy. But the fact that it starts at 3 o'clock in the morning and finishes at 6 o'clock in the morning, I've tried to, in my brain I want to watch it live. I really, really want to watch it live. But I just can't. I've never been able to watch it live and stay awake past the break, because the break my brain kind of relaxes. And at that point it's, 4 o'clock in the morning, and so my brain's like, oh. And the thing is, I don't enjoy it so much when it's live anyway, because I don't generally participate in chat because I'm too busy actually being enthralled in the story. And I have buffering problems because it's live. And when I get distracted when I'm watching it secondhand, I can pause it and go and make myself a cup of tea or pop to the ladies or get myself a biscuit or something. But during the live show, I still think in that mentality, so sometimes I'll pause it and I'll come back and be like, oh, I missed it. I have, as I said, signal problems, I have sleep problems, I don't participate in the chat, so it's kind of pointless. I enjoy it more when I'm conscious and I can actually listen and enjoy it. I don't know why I want to watch it live, because I don't get any benefit whatsoever from watching it live, but somewhere in my brain I'm like, ooh, I have a Friday off, I'll stay up all night, and yeah, it never works. It never, ever, ever works. So yeah, is it Friday morning yet? Is it, has the rebroadcast been posted yet? Has it been put into subscriber only OVA for the Friday viewing? Because that's the only way I can watch it, because otherwise I tried it again last night and I've just decided that I can't anymore because it's just stupid. I was up till 4:30 last night and then fell asleep on the sofa and woke up around 8 and came upstairs and went to bed. I can't. It's just so stupid. It's just bad psychological things going on there. I don't know why I do it. I just was like, I have to watch it live because it's live. No point whatsoever. No point. None. Zero. Kaput. Whew. Moving on to last Sunday's video, which was rainbows, and Mark and Mine said a good old big old rainbow. Also, thank you to all my seashells. Anyone that I didn't notice who was seashells in my commentary on Friday. Nathan Lyle says, I want to know, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? Pretty much every day this week. It's been ridiculous. April showers all the time, all the day. Not today yet, but I see blue sky and I see plenty of clouds, so it could go either way, to be honest. And KSJ says, double rainbows are even more amazing. Did I find a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? I didn't look, but physics tells me I probably wouldn't be able to find one. But there we go. Anyway, now I've got to edit this video because of the phone call in the middle, but I don't know how long it is, so it's only 18 minutes according to my video. Oink. There we go. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment on anything I've talked about in this video or anything you just want to chat about. I will be putting out a video tomorrow on something or other that has been pretty strongly hinted at, but I'm going to leave it relatively secretive. And yeah, today's secret word, for those of you who don't know what this is if you manage to make it all the way to the end of my ridiculously long commentary videos, I put in a secret word so I know who has actually watched the end of the video, and you can get credit where credit's due. Obviously, last week's word was seashells. This week's word is going to be honey. So if you managed to get to the end of this video and you want to prove that you got to the end and get credit for being an insane person, put the word honey in the comments down below, and I will be able to work out where it is. You can put it as surreptitiously as you like or as on the nose as you like. It's up to you, but that way I know which of you fools are crazy people. There we go. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys all next week for another commentary and tomorrow for another daily vlog. Bye guys. And I'm in the wrong tab. Let me turn off my camera. Bye.